Hey guys, welcome to this little prep before you digitize lesson, and I'm gonna show you how to prep your files before you ever even pop them into Photoshop or Illustrator. So what I'm gonna show you is how to take the best possible picture of your lettering art if you want to digitize it. And if you take a photo, you're not really gonna be able to make a lot of prints out of it because the photo can only go so far. It's not going to give you all that little detail that a scan can. And I'm going to show you how to scan your lettering art for the best possible results and how to scan it so that you can enlarge it many times. So let's get started with the scanners, and I'm going to show you my favorite, all-time favorite scanner that I use all the time and recommend it to everybody. And the one feature it has that you should look for in a scanner if you're buying one, if you can't find this specific one that I have, because the one I bought on eBay used about 2 years ago, and I think I only paid about $30 for it, and it's the best $30 I have ever spent in my life. The other scanner, I paid about $60 for it on Amazon, and I don't really like it. I don't really use it. Now, it scans perfectly fine, but for an artist, it's not the greatest, and I'm gonna show you why. All right, guys, so here are the two scanners that I have at home, and this one is my all-time favorite. This one I've used for a while, and then I discovered this one, and I don't really use this one anymore. But I bought this one on Amazon. I don't remember how much it was. I'm thinking around $60. And it's perfectly fine. It works perfectly fine. It's an awesome scanner. But this one has this one little feature that I absolutely love. This one is CanoScan LIDE 700F. And this one, it is Canon LIDE 220. And here is the difference. One is horizontal, one is vertical. Doesn't really make a difference at all. The only thing is, do you see this little raised lip right here? And this one, and this one, and the back one? It has 4 of them. This one has 3. And you know why that's important? Because when you scan something bigger than 8.5 by 11, it won't cut it off, and it won't give you a weird shadow. So if your piece is 8.5 by 11, like this, that's perfectly fine. You can place it in there, and it's gonna scan it. It fits right in the middle of those lips, which is fine. Over here, it fits as well. That's perfectly fine. If you work on small sheets of paper, that one is perfectly okay. But this one that we're using for the course, I did this one on a 9 by 12. Now, if I were to scan it in here, it fits lengthwise, it's perfectly fine. It fits in between those little lips. But we run into this problem right here where it goes over the edge. Now, it's not a big deal. I can scan it sideways, but I don't really feel like doing all that extra work. And you can see that my T right here comes up and lands right here on top of that lip, so it won't get scanned. And if I do it this way, I will get a big shadow in my scan right here where my piece is not touching the glass. Even if you close this, it's still not really touching the glass. You can see it there. So that's why I don't like it. Now, normally I would just scan it this way, and I would close it. I would scan it this way. I would probably cut off about this much in Photoshop, and then I would scan it this way and cut off this much in Photoshop and just use this piece to kind of eliminate that shadow that would be on the edge. But if you use my favorite scanner and it doesn't have that little lip right there on the third side, there's no shadow made by anything because there is no lip. So it fits in there perfectly. My T fits in there perfectly. All my lettering fits in there. Even if I do it this way, the T is right on the edge, but since there's no lip, there's gonna be no shadow or anything like that. And I can always flip it around, like there's more room on this side of my sheet of paper, there's more white space. So I flip it around this way and let that edge hang over. But since there's no lip, there's no shadows, I don't need to bend my paper, and it works perfectly fine. And it works even better if you have an even bigger sheet of paper, because then, let's say I have this one, I think this one is 14 by 17. I would not be able to fit this on this scanner. I would have to, again, kind of scan it in two and deal with that shadow and bending my sheet of paper. I really don't like doing this because then it just bends my sheet of paper if I have to press down really hard. This one doesn't bend anything, it just rolls right over the edge. There's no bending. And this is perfect also if, for instance, you want to scan a canvas or a wood sign or anything like that that you can't really bend. This is perfect as long as you don't go past, I think this is 11.5 inches lengthwise. So this little canvas that's a 10 by 10 fits in here perfectly. And since you can't really bend a canvas, this is really nice because it can just hang over the edge, and then I can flip it around and scan the other side and then combine those two in Photoshop. Whereas on this one, it would give you that gap between the glass and the canvas because it's raised up right here, and that gap is gonna make the scan look very, very fuzzy and blurred, and you're only gonna have about this much of the piece that's actually touching the glass that's gonna look very nice. So you'd have to do it, you couldn't do it because then you can't do the center because it's not touching the glass. It's up in the air because it's resting only on those lips, not on the glass. So this one little feature, this one little missing lip is amazing, amazing, amazing. So look for this if you're buying a new scanner and you can't find this one because they don't really sell it in stores anymore. But if you find a different brand or you don't live in the US and you have other brands available to you, try to find one without a lip because that makes a big difference. So right now I'm going to show you how to scan your art for best results if you're thinking of selling prints of it or making any type of prints of your art. So open up your scanner software, your scanner program, whatever you use to scan your pieces. I'm going to open up mine. It's going to take a minute. So make sure you are in the advanced mode, not in the auto mode, because you can't make many preferences or any changes in here. So make sure you're in the advanced mode or custom mode of your scanner software. So one thing I need you guys to understand before you start scanning your art is, are you gonna enlarge it ever to make any prints? For instance, let's say my art right here is 8 by 10. If I ever want to enlarge it to, let's say, double the size, which would be 16 by 20, I would need to scan it at 600 dpi instead of 300. We all know that for prints, you need your files to be 300 dpi, and that is perfectly fine, but that's at the printout size. So if you're printing, you know, a 2 foot by 2 foot piece, you need it at 300. If you're printing 1 foot by 1 foot, 300. If you're printing a little picture that's 5 by 7, you still need it at 300 dpi. But if you're starting out with a piece that is 8 by 10, let's say 8 by 10, and you scan it at 300, that means you can't go any higher than that. You can't print it bigger than 8 by 10 because it's already at 300. If you enlarge it any bigger, it's going to start look pixelated and fuzzy and just really bad. You don't want to enlarge it. If you scan it at 600, which is double of 300, you can then double the size of your printout. That means if your piece is 8 by 10, you scan it at 600 dpi, you can now print it at 600 or at 16 by 20. Does that make sense? So if you double the DPI, you can double the printout. If you quadruple the DPI, you can quadruple the output of your size of your printout. So if you think that there is ever going to be a chance that you will ever make bigger prints than what the original file is, what the original art is, just make sure to scan it at a higher DPI. And in the Digitizing Photoshop course, I will show you guys how to change all that back into inches. So if you scan it at 800 DPI and you're not sure how far you can enlarge it, I will show you that in Photoshop, and it's an easy fix. I'm going to scan mine at 600 because I'm going to show you in the course how to double your size. So I'm going to scan mine at 600 and just make sure you have everything off. All your settings, all your auto color, auto tone, anything like that. Make sure everything is off. You don't want to be messing with your art in the printer or in the scanner. You want to be in control of all of that in Photoshop. So just turn everything off. You don't need any of that corrective stuff. The only thing you need to worry about is the DPI, and then select the area that you want to scan and click scan, and it's going to scan it for you. The higher the DPI, the longer it's going to take for it to scan, because it's got to do it very detailed and slow. So just hit scan when you're ready on your little software here. Another way to scan your art, if you're going to be using it in Photoshop, and let me show you, is open up Photoshop, go to File, Import, and Images from Device. Right here. Click on that, and this window is going to open. You're going to see all your devices that are connected to your computer. So my phone is connected. If I click here, you're going to see all my pictures, and you can import those into Photoshop. If you click on the scanner, just make sure your scanner is on and plugged into the computer. Sometimes I have to like unplug my scanner and then plug it back in because Photoshop has issues finding it. But if it finds it, it'll pop up right there. It'll automatically start to scan and give you a preview of your piece. So you would automatically see it. What you do then is just click anywhere on your art and drag and select the area that you want it to scan. So I'm going to select all of this. I'm going to bring this down because there's nothing up there. So this right here, you have your DPI settings right here. Color or grayscale or text. Colors, you want millions or billions. I'm just going to do millions instead of billions. Scan to, you choose the folder. So I'm going to choose desktop. I just want it to scan to my desktop. You can name your scan, whatever name you want to give it. Always try to save it as a TIFF. TIFF is a great file for pictures, for scans. JPEG is great too, but it kind of loses some details. Not very big deal if it doesn't offer TIFF, but TIFF is better. You can do PDFs, all kinds of stuff, but TIFF is best for scans. And then turn off all the image corrective things right here. Another thing you can do is create a new Photoshop document out of the scan. So as soon as you hit scan and it finishes scanning, it's going to open up a new document of Photoshop with this scanned file. If you want to create a new layer in a document you already have open in Photoshop, you can do that as well. So I'm just going to click this and create a new document in Photoshop, and if I hit scan, it will just go through the scanning process, and then it will just open up Photoshop, and this picture is going to be there, and I'm ready to work on it. So that's about it for scanning. Always make sure, if you want to double your size of your printout, if you want to enlarge your piece, you have to scan it at a higher DPI. All right, so my scan finished. It's reading the TIFF file right now, and it will open it in Photoshop like this. There we go. You can just close this window right here. You don't need it anymore. And this is your new file in Photoshop, and you can just start editing it right now. Or you can go to File, Save, Save As, save it in a different location. So let's go take a look at how to take pictures of your lettering. All right, so let's get started, and I'll show you how to take the best photos of your lettering pieces. Now, the most important part is sunlight. You want a lot of sunlight coming through your window. And I don't mean putting your piece like in direct sunlight like that, where it would be in that bright sunlight, because then you have some glare issues. You can see my ink kind of gets shiny in the sunlight, so I wouldn't do that, but put it off to the side where it's still nice and bright, but it's not in the direct sunlight. Also, if you don't get a lot of sunlight, I would invest in one of these lamps. It comes with an umbrella which distributes the light evenly all over the room. It doesn't give it that harsh right on lamp look. So this is perfect the way it is right here. It's nice and bright and even lighting from both sides. If I turn off the lamp, you can see it gets a little bit darker on the left side. It creates that shadow. So if I want to get rid of that shadow, I don't want it to be that dark. I'm just going to turn that light on, and there it goes. So if you're taking your picture, just make sure you are right on top of your lettering. You're not like taking it at an angle or anything like that. Make sure you are straight on top of your lettering and get as close as you can to your piece to snap that photo without cutting off any of your letters. So make sure you're right on top, and either do it horizontal or vertical, doesn't matter, whatever works, as long as you can get as close as you can possibly get in there. And also another thing to remember, if you have any pencil marks, like right there, I would erase those before taking your photo, because that's just going to add work in Photoshop for you to fix those up. So I would erase those before taking my final photo. Also, if your piece is pretty big, you can take a couple photos and then stitch them together in Photoshop. So if I wanted better resolution with my photo, I would get really close to this word and take a photo. Then I would get really close to this word, kind of about estimate the same distance away from the paper so that I keep the size the same. And I would take a photo, and then I would move on to this one, keep the same distance, and take a photo. And that would give me better resolution overall, because I'm getting a little bit closer and picking up a little bit more detail instead of further away where it's going to get a little fuzzy. So those are my couple tips. Just make sure you're in the sunlight. If you can't be in the sunlight, get a couple lamps like this with the umbrellas. I will post a link to these, but you can probably find these anywhere on Amazon or in a photography store. And that's about it. Just erase all your marks. Make sure you are right on, and lighting. Make sure you are in great light. If you take a picture of your lettering pieces in dark rooms and yellow rooms, it's going to be a lot harder to make that piece of paper, that white, look very nice and bright and white. So make sure you're in natural sunlight in front of a window. All right, guys, thanks for hanging out with me and learning a little bit more about taking photos of your art and making scans of your art for best results when making prints or offering prints to your clients. Because we all know a great print is going to make your client happy. So we want those nice, crisp lettering pieces. Also, make sure you clean up your actual art before you ever scan it or take pictures of it. Make sure you erase all those little pesky pencil lines and marks, anything that you can get rid of before you even scan it, before you pop it into Photoshop. It's best to just do it by hand, because that's going to shave off time in Photoshop that you're going to spend with the mouse and clicking on every little piece and erasing it. So just erase it with an eraser before you scan it. Remember, when taking photos, just be in sunlight, wait for a sunny day. If you don't really have a lot of windows that face the sun, my house doesn't really have a lot of those, just make sure you invest in a light like this. Make sure it has an umbrella, because umbrellas make the light nice and soft and kind of all around instead of harsh and right on the piece. And if you're scanning and you think about enlarging your piece, make sure your DPI is high. And when you import your photos from your phone, if you take a photo with your phone and you want to import it to the computer, the fastest way I would say is Dropbox. If you have Dropbox, if not, just email it to yourself from your phone and then just grab it and put it into Photoshop. So I will see you next in the Digitizing in Photoshop lettering course, and I will show you how to actually make beautiful prints out of these scans that we just made. So see you in the course. Bye bye. If you're interested in learning how to digitize your hand lettering in Photoshop, go to twoeasels.com/courses, and the Digitizing in Photoshop lettering course is coming this June 2017. It is on pre-sale right now, so you can get a nice early bird price and early access to any videos that I will be posting earlier than the release date. So go to twoeasels.com/courses and look for the Photoshop course. I'll see you there. Bye-bye.